They say a mother's love is unconditional, but what happens when that love is used against you over and over again? My name is Elena, and for 58 years I believed that being a good mother meant sacrificing everything. Until the day I saw a video that shattered that belief forever. In 2 short minutes I realized my daughter didn't love me. She used me. And my son? He was in on it too. This is the story of how I stopped being their victim and took my life back. But tell me, if you were in my shoes, what would you have done? I used to imagine that I'd grow old with grace. Silver hair, weekly salon visits, smart pantsuits, and tasteful jewelry, just like my mother did. She aged like fine wine, all quiet dignity and soft, knowing smiles. When she passed away at 82, the funeral director called her the most elegant woman he'd ever prepared for burial. She left the world as she lived, put together, poised, unforgettable. I'm 58 now, and I am none of those things. My hair? A dull mix of gray and brown that I gave up dyeing years ago. My wardrobe? Shapeless cotton dresses and sensible shoes bought more for comfort than style. I stopped wearing jewelry. I stopped wearing makeup. I stopped caring. 3 years ago, my husband John died. After that, I didn't just lose him, I lost myself too. Somewhere between grief and routine, I faded into the background of my own life. I didn't make a conscious decision to disappear. It just happened. One day I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. I live alone now in the same colonial house John and I bought when the kids were small. It's far too big for one person, but I never could bring myself to leave. Every room holds memories, some warm, most bittersweet. The garden out back, once John's pride and joy, has gone wild. Ivy climbing the walls, weeds choking the flower beds. The kitchen, once filled with the smells of roasted chicken and homemade soup, now sees me eating cereal from the box at 3 p.m. The guest rooms gather dust. The only visitors I get these days are memories, and they aren't particularly good company. My son Spencer lives in Seattle, married, twin boys, a busy job. He calls every Sunday at 10 a.m. sharp. It's always the same script. "How are you, Mom? Weather okay? We'll try to visit soon." He never does. I've stopped pretending I believe him. My daughter Rebecca, lives only 20 minutes away. In theory. In reality, I see her maybe once a month, usually when she needs something. Money, a pet sitter, a place to cry after another breakup. She's 35 and still chasing the same dreams she had at 22, only now with more bills and bigger lies. I used to tell myself she just needed time, just one more break, one more loan, one more chance, and I gave it all to her, every time. I don't say this to make you pity me. I say this so you understand the woman I was, the one who disappeared herself in service of everyone else. I was the mother who gave and gave and gave until there was nothing left, not even me. But here's the thing. You can only disappear for so long before someone or something forces you to look in the mirror again. And what I saw in that mirror would change everything. Becca was always the one who needed more attention, more time, more reassurance, more of me. From the day she was born, she wrapped herself around my heart with a grip I mistook for love, but in hindsight, may have been dependency. Spencer was independent from the moment he could walk, but Becca, she clung to me like a lifeline, and I let her. I told myself that was what mothers do. We show up, we give, we sacrifice, even when it hurts. She was creative from the start. Wild sketches on the walls, dramatic performances in the living room, tearful exits from every school she ever attended. Teachers said she was sensitive. Therapists said she had potential. I said she was special, and I believed it. Maybe I still do, somewhere deep down. At 35, Becca still called me Mommy when she wanted something. Her voice softened, her eyes widened, and somehow, even after everything, I still reached for my checkbook like a reflex. "Mom, I just need to get through this month," she'd whisper, like it was a secret only I could fix. "The gallery hasn't paid me, and my landlord's being a total jerk." I'd write the check before she even finished the story, every time. John used to warn me, because if she didn't need me, what was I for? I ignored their messages, not out of anger, but because I had nothing left to say. They knew what they'd done, and until they brought more than excuses, there was nothing to fix. Meanwhile, my lawyer kept me updated. Becca tried to fight the will, calling me unfit. Spencer looked into taking over decisions, saying I wasn't stable. Both failed. I was clear, strong, and had protected everything. What hurt most? How fast they moved on. Becca found a rich new boyfriend and rebranded herself. Spencer got a promotion and shared it like nothing had happened. I didn't reply to Laya's message right away. I just sat there, phone in hand, while the azaleas kept blooming and the sun kept shining like nothing had happened. But everything had. In less than 2 minutes, my entire understanding of my daughter, of my life, had shifted. The love I thought was unconditional suddenly felt one-sided, exploited. Was I ready to hear more? No, not at all, but I needed to. With trembling fingers, I typed, "Send it." Instead of replying with another video, Laya called. Her voice was soft, careful, like she was trying not to shatter something already broken. "I'm sorry, Elena," she said. "I was at Jen's birthday last night. You know, my niece. Becca was there. I don't think she knew I was Jen's aunt, or maybe she just didn't care. But I heard things you deserve to know." I braced myself. She told me how Becca had bragged about manipulating me, how she joked about timing her emergencies right after being extra nice to me, how she'd laughed about crying on cue. She even called my grief over John performative, something I exaggerated for attention. "She said you were her retirement plan," Laya said quietly, "that as long as she played the struggling artist, you'd keep bankrolling her, that you're so desperate for her approval, you'll never stop." The words hit harder than anything I'd heard before, because they weren't just careless, they were calculated, a strategy, a system. Then came the final twist of the knife. She showed off this new watch, Cartier, said it cost $8,000, said it was a gift from Mommy Dearest. I nearly dropped the phone. 3 months ago, Becca had come to me in tears, saying she needed emergency dental surgery, something not covered by her insurance. She was in pain, she said. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. She needed $8,000. I wired it the same day. She never had surgery. She bought jewelry. I don't remember much of the rest of that call. I think I thanked Laya. I think I said I needed time. I do remember walking inside, past the dust-coated picture frames, into the kitchen. I poured myself a glass of John's favorite scotch, the one we used to save for anniversaries and celebrations, and sat in his old leather chair in the study. For the first time, I allowed myself to really see her, not the little girl I'd raised, not the daughter I'd forgiven again and again, but the woman she'd become, a liar, a user, someone who found pleasure in deceiving the one person who loved her most. And something inside me, something soft and maternal, died in that moment. In its place, something harder took root, because now I knew the truth, and the truth demanded action. I've always been a planner. For 26 years, I taught high school English with color-coded lesson plans, themed bulletin boards, and classroom libraries sorted by genre and reading level. John used to tease me about my vacation binders, daily itineraries, maps, restaurant options, even backup activities in case of rain. Our kids knew that behind my warm smile and homemade cookies was a brain that cataloged everything and prepared for anything. So when I decided to dismantle my daughter's comfortable life of lies, I approached it like any other project, methodically, quietly, and with care. First, I needed facts. I spent the entire next day in John's study, surrounded by decades of financial paperwork. Every check I'd written to Becca, every Venmo labeled "Love You, Mom," like a digital kiss covering a lie, every withdrawal that lined up with one of her so-called emergencies. I didn't want estimates. I wanted a number. The final total made my stomach churn, $127,842. That didn't include the car I bought when hers died, or the 6 months of rent I covered during a so-called job gap. It didn't include the student loans I was still quietly paying off, years after she graduated with a fine arts degree she barely used. Just the cash, just the lies. I built a spreadsheet, dates, amounts. Her explanations, always some disaster or emotional breakdown. Looking at it all at once was humiliating, not because of what she'd done, but because I'd let it happen, every single time. Then I did something I'd never done before. I violated her privacy. She'd once given me her email password when she needed help applying for jobs. I never changed it. Part of me always thought I'd use it to help her again. What I found instead nearly made me sick. Emails, pages of them, mocking me in detail, telling friends how she tricked me into paying for a trip to Bali she called a healing retreat, describing a mental health crisis that was actually a 2-week bender with her gallery friends, a long thread with someone named Marcus plotting how to squeeze me for another few grand to help him buy a rental property, and then the final betrayal, an email to Spencer. "Mom's getting worse. She just sits in that house and waits for me to call. Pathetic. I know we talked about assisted living, but she won't go unless we force her. She's not incompetent, just sad and lonely. But hey, if she keeps throwing money at me, I'm not complaining. Let's push this at Christmas. That house could set us both up for life." Spencer's reply: "Can't get away right now. Sarah would flip. Keep me posted." That was it. No outrage, no pushback, just scheduling around the exploitation of their mother. I printed it all, the emails, the messages, the photos. I placed it in a neat folder and closed the lid on my old self. Because now I was done playing the fool, and soon they'd know it too. The text came the next morning. "Hey, Mom, can I come over tonight? Need to talk about something important. Love you." That last part, "love you," used to mean something. Now it felt like punctuation, a habit, a hook. I didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. I replied, "Of course, sweetheart. I'll make your favorite lasagna. 7 sa?" She responded instantly, "Perfect. You're the best." For the rest of the day, I prepared, not just dinner, though I made the lasagna with mechanical precision, like muscle memory from better years, but myself. I washed and styled my hair, put on makeup for the first time in months, wore a deep blue wrap dress John had always loved, spritzed perfume, jewelry, subtle but elegant. I looked in the mirror and didn't see a victim. I saw a woman who was finally ready. At 6:57, her car pulled into the driveway, right on time, a miracle, really, for Becca. Through the window, I watched her fix her hair in the mirror, check her lipstick, and grab a small gift bag from the passenger seat. Of course, a prop. The doorbell rang. I took a breath, opened the door. "Becca, sweetheart." I smiled, pulling her into a hug. She hugged back, but her arms were stiff, her affection rehearsed. "Mom, you look great," she said, surprised. "Really put together." "I've been making some changes lately," I said simply. "Come in. Dinner's almost ready." She handed me the gift bag. Inside was a novelty mug. "World's best, Mom." Probably from a gas station. "It's perfect," I said, setting it aside without a glance. "Let's eat." Over dinner, she circled her pitch slowly, complimenting my cooking, asking vague questions about my plans. Finally, she got to it. "So, I might have a big opportunity. A gallery in Chelsea wants to feature my work. Huge exposure. But I need to invest in materials and space. She leaned in. I was thinking, maybe I could borrow against my inheritance? There it was, the game. But she didn't know I was playing now, too. Interesting, I said, sipping wine. Tell me more. She launched into a well-rehearsed story. 15 paintings, a short deadline, a prestigious gallery, all hinging on $20,000. Her eyes even filled with practiced tears. This could change my life, Mom. I'll pay you back. Promise. I smiled. What's the gallery called? Horizon Gallery, she said. The owner's name is Marcus Dotto. Marcus. The same Marcus from the email thread. Do you have a contract? I asked. A flicker of panic crossed her face, quickly masked. Not yet. Marcus likes to work on handshake agreements until the work is done. I'd still like to see the space, I said gently. Meet Marcus. He's out of town, she said too fast. Berlin, an art fair. Well, I said, setting down my fork, then we can wait on the money. She stared at me, calculating, adjusting, still believing she could steer this, but I was done being steered. Becca, I said, do you think I'm stupid? The room went still, and that's when everything changed. Spencer called 17 times that night. I ignored everyone. He left 3 voicemails, his voice tight, clipped, trying and failing to sound calm. Becca must have called him the moment she left, hysterical and cornered, spinning the story her way, that I was unstable, that I'd lost touch with reality, that I'd snapped. On the 18th call, I picked up. Mom, what the hell is going on? No hello. No how are you. Just outrage, defensive, angry. Good morning to you too, Spencer. How are the boys? Don't change the subject. Did you really change your will? Cut us both out? Becca's losing her mind over here. Yes, I did. I sipped my tea. Calm. Controlled. Would you like to know why? She said something about a video. About emails. He scoffed. Mom, if this is about some dumb joke she made at a party, it's not just about the video, I interrupted. It's about a pattern of lies, of manipulation, of entitlement, and you're part of it. Silence. When were you planning to suggest putting me in assisted living? My voice was even, too even. A long pause. She showed you those emails? No, I found them myself. Another silence. Longer this time. I could hear him recalibrating. Spencer always played the long game. Becca was the drama. He was the strategist. Look, he said finally, slipping into his corporate client voice, maybe we all need to take a step back. Clearly things got miscommunicated. I think you're grieving, and I'm not grieving anymore. My tone dropped, cold, clear. I'm awake. Mom, I'm flying out there tomorrow. We need to talk face to face. That's not necessary. It is. He didn't ask. He declared, just like his father, minus the warmth. He hung up before I could respond. The next morning, I watched from the peephole as he tried to open the front door with his old key. The lock had been changed. When it didn't turn, he rang the bell. Once, then twice, then again, pressing harder each time. I waited, just long enough to remind him this was my house, my rules now. When I opened the door, he brushed past me like he still lived there. You changed the locks? He snapped. Hello to you too, Spencer. I closed the door behind him. How was your flight? He ignored that. What is this really about, Mom? Becca made a mistake. Fine. But this, cutting us off, it's not rational. It's not punishment, I said. It's consequences. He didn't sit. He stood over me like a lawyer in a deposition. You read a few emails and now you're throwing away your family? Tell me, I said, if Becca hadn't called you in a panic about the money, would you be here right now? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. He called it a misunderstanding. He called it a moment of weakness. I called it what it was. I'm not walking away from being your mother, I told him. I'm walking away from being your victim. I expected loneliness. After decades of living for my children, emotionally, financially, even spiritually, I thought cutting them off would leave a gaping hole I couldn't fill. I imagined long nights staring at the phone, willing it to ring. Imagined regret curling around my heart like smoke. But none of that happened. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real peace. Not silence, not numbness, but an absence of chaos, of walking on eggshells, of waiting for the next call, the next crisis, the next emotional ambush disguised as a daughter's plea or a son's concern. The house felt different, too. Not smaller, not emptier. Just mine. The rooms I once tiptoed through like a ghost now felt open, free. I reorganized John's study, my study now, moved my books in, took down the dusty reminders of who I used to be and replaced them with pieces of who I was becoming. I joined a book club at the library, started volunteering at an adult literacy program, reconnected with old teaching colleagues. I even went on a few dates, pleasant ones, though none led anywhere. Maybe they didn't have to. I wasn't looking to be completed. I was learning how to be whole on my own. Becca and Spencer made their attempts at reconciliation. Half-hearted, conditional. Becca left voicemails full of tears and self-pity. Spencer sent emails that read more like negotiations than apologies, carefully worded, outlining paths forward as a family. But neither of them ever said the words I needed most. I'm sorry. I used you. I disrespected you. I saw you as a means to an end. I ignored their messages, not out of anger, but because I had nothing left to say. They knew what they'd done, and until they brought more than excuses, there was nothing to fix. Meanwhile, my lawyer kept me updated. Becca tried to fight the will, calling me unfit. Spencer looked into taking over decisions, saying I wasn't stable. Both failed. I was clear, strong, and had protected everything. What hurt most? How fast they moved on. Becca found a rich new boyfriend and rebranded herself. Spencer got a promotion and shared it like nothing had happened. Ask ChatGPT. They were resilient, just not when it came to me. But I didn't take it personally anymore. I no longer saw their behavior as a reflection of my failure as a mother, because now I understood something that had taken me nearly 60 years to learn. I matter, not for what I give, not for who I support, not for how much I sacrifice, just for being me. And that was enough. It had been exactly 6 months since I'd changed the locks when Laia called. Her voice was different this time, urgent, stripped of all preamble. Becca's in trouble. The words landed like a stone in my stomach. Old instincts kicked in before reason could answer. What happened? Is she safe? Does she need me? But I reminded myself, she always needed me, and I'd always answered. That was the problem. I forced my voice to stay steady. What kind of trouble? She's been arrested. Fraud. That new boyfriend of hers? The one with the art connections? He was running some kind of investment scam. Becca was helping him recruit victims. She says she didn't know what he was really doing, but it doesn't look good. I closed my eyes. Not surprised, not even angry, just tired. They've set bail at $50,000, Laia continued. She called me because you wouldn't answer. I told her I'd try. I didn't respond. Elena, she said gently, I know what she did was unforgivable, but she's still your daughter. Yes, I said quietly. She is. There was a long pause. So, will you help her? I thought about it, not because I wanted to help her, but because I wanted to be absolutely certain of my answer. No, I said. I won't. Silence on the other end. Laia didn't argue. She understood. Maybe she even respected it. Maybe. But I wasn't interested in being a good mother anymore. I wanted to be a whole woman, a peaceful woman, a free woman. My phone rang again, a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it, but something told me to answer. "Mom?" Becca's voice was small, raw. "Please don't hang up." I said nothing. "I'm in trouble, real trouble this time. I made a mistake, a big one. I know I don't deserve your help. I know what I did, but I don't know who else to call." Her words cracked. She sounded like a little girl again, but I knew better now. "What exactly do you want from me, Rebecca?" "Bail money," she whispered, "and maybe a place to stay, just until the trial." "I can't do that," I said. "Mom, please—" "No, Rebecca, I can't bail you out. Not this time. Not ever again." She started to cry, loud, theatrical sobs that might have fooled me once. "I'll pay you back, I swear, every penny." "This isn't about money," I said. "It never was. It's about choices and consequences." She went quiet. Then came the rage. "You've changed." "I have," I agreed, "for the better." "What am I supposed to do now?" "What adults do when they've broken the law and no one's coming to save them." And then I hung up. My hands didn't shake. My heart didn't ache. I just sat there, finally free. If Elena's story moved you, whether with anger, sadness, or strength, tell me in the comments. What would you have done in her place? Cut ties or try again? Subscribe for more true stories about family, betrayal, and self-discovery. This channel is about truth, choices, and transformation. Let's talk.